Welcome to the $1 Million Magic Podcast, where Jennifer Jones talks to industry leaders in the real estate world and beyond. From scaling businesses to manifesting health, wealth, and happiness. It's time to unlock your next level of success.
Hey everyone, it's Jennifer Jones, and I am here talking today about my 7-day Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation retreat that I did a couple weeks ago in Orlando, Florida. So, life-changing. I highly recommend this for everybody, but let's get into the meat and potatoes of what the experience was like. So, you go there, you get registered, you get your lanyard and a bracelet you have to wear for the entire time. And the way that they have it set up, you get a bracelet and a lanyard based on a particular color. And with that color means that you move around with that group for the rest of the week. So that, your group, we were yellow. It meant that yellow got moved around within the room into different locations for seating every day. It also meant that we went into one area together to eat our meals together. So just an overall wonderful experience because you're seeing the same people over and over again and building relationship with them, even over that week. So what were sort of the core lessons that I got out of Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat? So I think one of the big ones was, and we've, most of us have heard this, but it's like getting into that place where you really think about it. So it's not just like hearing it over and over again, but actually thinking about it. So your thoughts, emotions, and habits are just a program. Now, I've talked about this before, but the reality is that our brain is like a computer, and then we run software on it. And what you realize is that 95% of the software we're running on our brains is actually just automatic. So the same way you get up and you go in and go to the washroom and brush your teeth, or you take a certain way that you drive to work every day, or, have certain clothes you wear, certain colors you wear, all of those things are programmed. So you definitely want to try to shake it up every single day, meaning change up your routine, make things more surprising. You want to rewire new parts of your brain. So you want to stop doing so much of the old stuff. So I think it's hard when you start to realize that the same things that you say, the same things that you do are really just part of the way that you've wired yourself. And a lot of who we are is based on things that happened to us when we were, 7, 8, 9 years old, right? We were programmed by our parents, we're programmed by teachers, by, people that mentored us in our lives. And, things like money doesn't grow on trees, or, whatever. There's so many different sayings. So we all have these things. We all have this programming. So you want to be able to shift that in order to change your life. Because what you realize is if you look around at your life right now, everything that's in it, you've created. So your thoughts and your words have created your existence. So your financial situation, where you're living, your partner, how your relationships are with your family, all of those things have been created by the thoughts and the feelings that have got you to right now. So if you're happy with it, that's so great, but isn't there always room for improvement? So that being the case, you want to change your thoughts and your words, and therefore you can change your future. Now, does that mean that I can just speak affirmations over my world every day and have it change? No, it doesn't. It'll help. But what you realize through going to these Dr. Joe retreats are that essentially you need that higher elevated emotion to do so. And so this is where we're going to go into next. So when you have these thoughts and the thoughts or words that come out of your mouth, and it's like, it's things you've just been repeating, like, I'm not good enough. I'm too fat. I'm too old. I'm too stupid. Whatever it is that you've been saying to yourself, you have to look at that and say, that is old code. Okay. So that is old code, and we're no longer going to repeat this. And you're going to replace that with something that you want it to be now. So I'm an amazing parent, right? I eat all the right things that keep my body at the right weight, like whatever it is. Okay. Um, a lot of people who are ill attend these events, and for them, it's focusing on that perfect health, right? I move closer and closer to perfect health each and every day. Um, so the second thing was really your state first and then the strategy second. So that idea of you need a coherent brain and heart, that's sort of how your heart is beating or how your brain is working. Now, if any of you know anything, if you go to your Apple Watch, if you were an Apple Watch, or go to your Apple, look into your health, the heart symbol, and you scroll down, you'll notice that you have an HRV score. Well, an HRV score medically will show the likelihood of you passing at an earlier age. The lower that heart HRV, which is heart variability recovery, whatever that score is, you want it high. You want a lot of variability. We actually don't want the heart to beat consistently. You want it to be sort of all over the place. And the reason for that is that if you have a steady, normal, slow heartbeat with not much variability, that actually shows generally it's a correlation between an earlier age death. Okay. So, what we want to focus on is how to connect your heart and that energy with your brain and have those two things working together. We know, and this is where, Dr. Joe goes into the science of it and goes into all the research they do, but they know that when these two things are in coherence together, they have an energetic sort of way of working together. And that actually, the people that will have the most success in their world in terms of, being able to visualize and then get what they want, have the highest coherence in that area. So when you're regulated and open, you're going to see opportunity where you would have normally missed it because you're in that 95% of the programming where you're just running through every single day and doing the same thing the same way at the same time, right? So state is super, super important. So how do we alter the state? Well, we alter the state through meditation. Now, when we talk about meditating, you can also say that you can alter this state by being in a very relaxed state. So essentially, we talk about like, are we in a beta state, which is your awake state, right? Are we in delta, which would be more like that going into dream state? So there's like high beta, which is like you're very reactive to things, low beta, where you're just more relaxed and alert. But the idea is that we want to be in a very relaxed state in order to actually change our future, right? So, and we want to visualize that future now as if it is today. So, the way to do it is not simply being alert. Like you don't want to be in a like as I am now visualizing my future. I want to move into a very relaxed state. So some of the best times to do that is actually upon waking and then going to sleep, where your body is naturally relaxing. You're moving down through those states to be able to access that part of yourself, which is more like the imagination creator part of us, less so than the logical, reasonable side, or what we think it is anyway. So you want to close your eyes, slow your breathing, have your body relaxed, drop the attention into your heart, and you want to feel gratitude and feel love. And you want to do this for, an extended period of time. And so the way to change your life in terms of, let's say you're a realtor, a lot of our people watching are realtors. How would you do that? Well, before I dial and call people, or before I go to an open house, or before I go into a listing appointment, I would want to meditate and get into that state, or at least get my body into a relaxed state and visualize the successful outcome that is happening, right? So, the second thing we worked on was really the understanding that that quantum future you, okay, is real data. It's not fluff. So, you know, Dr. Joe they have research partners even at San Diego University, and what they do is they even take like different samples from groups prior to the 7-day retreat and then after. So they were taking samples of, like for microbiomes, we all know what that is, blood. They were looking at oxytocin levels. And something I found fascinating was that, an average oxytocin level for someone that doesn't have a baby, let's say, might be around a 2. I don't know what the measurement is, but it's a 2, and that serious meditators or people that have gone through a 7-day retreat with Dr. Joe, their oxytocin levels are actually somewhere around 200, which is way outside the norm of what an oxytocin level would be. Now, that's your body in a meditated state being able to create that hormone, right, without having a baby, which is amazing. But the cool thing is that, you know, you realize that your oxytocin level, that very high level, is the reason why you can't hold a grudge and why you're maintaining this positive state and you're not engaging in conflict and you're sitting out more as an observer. That's because of that very high oxytocin level. So there's a lot of science behind how this changes your world by, meditating. And if you're finding it difficult to commit to a practice, attending one of these retreats. So the cool thing is that you can change your future by becoming familiar with that new person that you see in the future, like as if it is now, but by connecting emotionally, physically, and energetically. So what you would do is move into a meditative state, and then towards the end, you begin visualizing in great detail who you are in this new version of yourself, right? So let's say you're not healthy, you're struggling with cancer, or you have other things going on. In that state, visualizing that very relaxed state, in the connected state, visualizing being healthy and having healthy cells and a healthy body and seeing yourself out doing things and enjoying life and being pain free. All of those things will help you. There's also, they put out a paper after we had finished that retreat, and it actually talks about how in a meditative state, if they show you certain kaleidoscopes, like at a certain point in the meditation, you see kaleidoscopes and watch them, they can show you um, the basically the chemical element of like the atoms of a particular, like let's say a painkiller, or one they did for us was DMT. Okay, so that's like um, that would be DMT would be the chemical that people would get an out of body experience with. So they actually show us these atoms, okay, of the element of what it looks like, and they rotate it. And in a meditative state, after looking at kaleidoscope, they showed that the meditators, their body actually began making those chemicals without actually taking the chemical, which I think is absolutely amazing. So they were able to give painkillers and give all of these other interesting elements to us. And basically, in a meditative state, we were able to, without needing to understand, we were able to, I guess, our brain or higher self look at that element and then begin creating it in our own body, where it would show in our blood levels that we actually had created those properties, which is amazing. Um, so how do you integrate all of this? Well, you need to commit to sit, essentially. So you've got to be able to commit to a period of time of sitting. And no, 5 minute, 10-minute meditations, 15 minutes. I'm sorry, it's not enough. As a minimum, 30 minutes, but you should be doing an hour. Dr. Joe himself meditates an hour to 2 hours a day, and you commit to sit. So you do not allow yourself to get up. This is the thing. Because you need to overcome yourself. Your body is basically addicted to old emotions, right? And you need to overcome your body. Your body loves stress, it loves worry, it loves hustle, it loves the busy. So when you feel calm and powerful, your body is going to want to take you back to the chaos. So part of the sitting and that commitment to sit is learning to overcome your body. It was funny. It was funny, not funny. We did a 5 hour meditation, started at 4 o'clock in the morning. And that is a challenge. Like, getting to probably hour two, I don't even know where we were next. You don't have, access to your phone. You're not going to be checking. So I think there was part ways through that where in my mind, I would scream at Dr. Joe, stop it, right? Let's get up. Let's go to breakfast. It's enough now. And then I would yell at my body, like, no, knock it off, And so working on that overcoming of my body that was trying to run the show, you realize that your body's trying to run the show and that you have to tell it to sit. You have to tell it no, like a dog. I love the way that he talks about training your body like a dog. No, sit, stay, right? And so that's what I learned is by telling it no, knock it off, sit, stay. You're going to stay here until I tell you to get up. And when you do that, and then you commit back into the practice and concentrate on your breathing and follow, then what happens is you reach these more elevated states. So the whole key is if you want to change your life, you have to be able to meditate and access that part of ourselves that we generally don't have access to because our brain is always active and our body is always running the show, right? So, an example of how to manage this. So, even last week, um, you know, got drawn into something for a short period of time, but I recognized it and went, okay, I need a reframe here. I'm getting drawn into some drama, and I haven't since I've come out of that retreat. So I just stopped everything. I wear an eye mask, put in my earbuds, went off by myself and meditated for 30 minutes. And then when I finished, I was back to myself. I was back in a higher resonating place. I didn't care about that anymore. So it's understanding that's the way to manage those emotions. If you find you're talking a lot about people or thinking negative thoughts, you're spending time in that energy, you need to meditate. It means that we've got to work on a higher level of oxytocin that your body will create in order to have you live in a place where that is not a thing and you won't be as affected by it anymore, which is absolutely amazing. So meditation is not woo woo. We have all the science. I can do a link to the paper that they published. This study was in collaboration with Dr. Joe Dispenza, again, showing benefits of attending a 7-day meditation retreat or just being a serious meditator versus, the control group that wouldn't be meditating. So again, minimum 30 minutes, but you need to really be doing an hour as a minimum to see really great results. Okay. Now, the other thing I think that's important to mention is we tend to let our environment lead, right? Like as it will be, fateful, all those things. Now, we can create so much of what actually happens in our world. And so you have to stop waiting for exterior things to determine what path you're going to take, what you're going to do. You really need to spend time sitting and getting clear on what it is that you want, and then making sure that you're meditating and visualizing with emotion, with heart, with love, the outcome that you want to see. So I think it's important for all of us to understand that this is the way to healing. This is the way to more success in your life. This is the way to healthier relationships. It's the way to, like, almost like a hack to becoming everything that you've wanted to be. And for me, this ties into, like, oh my gosh, I've been researching this stuff and studying everything since I was a teenager. So this is a few years, I'm not going to lie. But I feel like this retreat kind of brought it all together. And I love that part where Dr. Joe talks about how, you know, he's researched the science behind this, and the science is the gateway to the mystical, right? So there's a scientific explanation for everything that is mystical, and quantum physics is real, and we're energetic beings, right? And we all have an energy field we emit. And, that idea of, we all have this pineal gland that is like the radio transmitter in the brain, and it has little crystals inside it. And what happens is our cerebral fluid that runs all the way up your spine and then straight up to the pineal gland in your brain, that is kind of the gateway to the mystical and amazing experiences, right? So by certain types of breathing, concentrating on your perineum, I can't speak, and then abdominal breathing, like bringing and kind of squeezing that fluid up. You take a process that would normally take 2 days, and then the cerebral fluid would cleanse through your brain, take the toxins out, push it out to the cerebral fluid on the outside, and then it would be washed out of your body. You're doing that and concentrating this into a much shorter process within, like 15, 20 minutes, right, through breathing. And the cool thing is, when the cerebral fluid rises up into your brain and taps into the pineal gland, it basically turns on, because of the opposite negative and positive kind of sides with the crystals in the pineal gland. It turns it into like a radio transmitter. So then your signal from there goes out, and now you're open to everything, which is just so cool and amazing. So if you were thinking about going to a Dr. Joe retreat, I would say 100% go. I'll be going to another one shortly. I think this is something for me that, while I'm, really getting my practice in place again, because it's something I used to do years back, I probably will go a few times just to get myself in check and make sure I'm staying on track. But I think that if you really want to change your life and you're serious and you're ready, then either you start meditating now, or go look at Dr. Joe's website, start doing his online courses, start doing some of those meditations, and understand that, if you're not going to commit to sit, you're not going to be able to entirely change your life. You have to be able to tap into that energy and be able to, like, go to a peaceful place and heal as well, right? And heal all these things. So anyway, it's amazing. It's awesome. I loved it. And if you want to know anything about my experience there, and there's so many things, you can always reach out. Something you do there as well is learn how to do coherence healings. So raising your love in the room and the gratitude. And there's so many stories of healing. So if you go to his website and look at the stories, you will be blown away by all the healings that have taken place within that community. It is amazing. So hope you guys are having a great day, and I hope that helps.